Bar chords are where players get stuck. You buzz notes, your hand hurts from squeezing. If you've been told to just keep playing until it clicks, you don't have to wait. You can play your favorite songs today. Because I'm going to give you 5 tools I use to get my students playing bar chord songs without using any bar chords. Play now, master later. Let's go. Number 1, chord charts don't mean what you think they mean. When you see an F chord written like this, it doesn't mean that you have to play that. It's just telling you that that's one note on each string that would sound good. You can play less than that. You could play just the bottom 3 strings. You could play just the top couple. If you're finger picking, you can pick some out of the middle. All you need to do is grab some portion of that chord that your hand is able to grab. For an F chord, for example, the hard part is laying down the bar with the pointer finger. But you can very easily just not play the notes on the high E string and the B string and still get a great sound out of the lower 4 strings. Now there's actually a lot that you can do with this, and I'd encourage you to try it out a bit, but here are a couple guidelines for things that are usually going to sound good. Number 1, if you're playing alone, you want to get lower notes. So if it's just you, I would rather grab the bottom 3 or 4 strings rather than just say the top 3 strings. It can work, but usually lower carries more weight. Second, if you're playing with other people, the opposite is usually true. If we have multiple people playing guitar together, maybe I'm playing the bottom, and I only really need you to grab the top part. This is especially true if you're playing with a keyboardist, a bassist, or again, another guitarist who's just playing down lower on the instrument. Next, we usually tend to get the best sounds when we strum the same general range of strings. So for example, if you know in your F chord that you're only going to hit the bottom 4 strings, and you come to a C chord before that, maybe on purpose you don't hit the whole C chord, just hit 2 or 3 notes out of it, and that's going to prepare your ear for the new range. Finally, if you're using finger picking with this, we tend to put the thumb on the lowest note that you would strum. Again, for an F chord, that's going to be your F, that's low E string fret 1. And then you can put your other fingers, index, middle, and ring, on any of the 3 other strings, depending on where you want to hear that sound. This trick works just as well, maybe even better, if you're using something like a B minor chord, which also really trips people up. You can just hit the main 4 strings in the middle of the guitar, and then either let your finger kind of lay down on purpose and mute that last string, or just ditch it all together and not hit it. And it's still going to sound great. The next trick is actually a variation of that works really well when you need to go fast. And it's playing power chords. Now, if you've heard of power chords before, I'm going to show you 2 tricks that I don't see most people doing that'll help you even more with speed and making them blend in with the rest of your open chords. So if you're not familiar with the idea, a power chord is a kind of formula you can use. You're going to put your pointer finger on any note, usually on the E string or the A string, and then you're going to put your ring and middle fingers 2 frets above that on the next 2 strings. So it might be something like 3, 5, 5. Power chords have some advantages and disadvantages. They're not major or minor, so you don't have to learn 2 different versions of them like you might have learned an E major chord and an E minor chord. There's just one B power chord, one G power chord. That's it. That also means that your power chord shape is the same way the whole way up the neck. A B power chord feels like a C power chord, feels like C sharp. One disadvantage to using a power chords with open chords, though, is that since power chords are smaller, they might sound a little bit less full. There are a couple tricks we can do, though, that'll help out with that. The first is that if you're playing a really big open chord like a G or something followed by a power chord, it can help to play only a couple strings out of that big open chord. You don't need the whole thing. That's going to get your ear used to the power chord range of sounds. Second is that you can actually extend your power chords sometimes. If you're playing a power chord where your pointer finger is on the A string, you can actually lay that pointer finger down and cover both the A and the E strings on the same fret. That's going to fill out the sound. It is technically a bar, so don't do that if it's not comfortable, but it is a way to get more sound out of your power chords if you need that. Another trick is that there's a variation most people don't think about. If you put your pointer finger on the D string, your power chord is actually formed by putting a finger 2 frets higher on the G string, and then your pinky yet 1 fret higher than that on the B string. There are a number of different versions of power chords that you can use, and so I'm going to put all of them on screen now so you can copy different ones and add them to your vocabulary. It's worth taking a practice session or two to teach your hand power chords if they've never done them before, because they have so much utility. First, because it's the same motion the whole way up the neck, you can tend to move way faster than you could with open chords. Second, you can use a power chord to play any chord that you don't know. If a song has a B flat chord in it, all you need to do is put your pointer finger on a B flat on the E string, A string, D string, whatever you want, and make a power chord out of it, and you can do that instead. I'm going to put a chart up on screen right now that shows where different notes are across the neck of the guitar so that you can screenshot it, though it's also worth finding one of these that you can download for your later reference. If you're finding this video helpful, would you like it to tell YouTube that they should show it to other people? Also, if you want to comment down below anything that you're working on right now, ask me any questions at all. I would love to give you some tips if I can be helpful. And finally, if you like my style of breakdowns and want to see more, remember to subscribe so that you can see when the next videos are coming out. I was teaching the song Still Rock and Roll to Me by Billy Joel one time to a student, and it has C, G, B flat, F, A minor, G, and then back to C. This student didn't know a comfortable F chord and definitely didn't know a B flat chord, but we were able to combine his open voiced C chord and G chord with a B flat and F power chord and still be able to play the song. Finally, if it's too much to train 3 fingers to move together for this bar chord, you can also just do a 2-finger version. Pick any 2 of the fingers and it will still work. It's not going to sound quite as full, but it shouldn't stop you from playing the song that you want to play. But using power chords doesn't just need to be a fallback. You can absolutely plan them on purpose. Sometimes you want certain parts of a song to sound bigger and more full and you want to use big open strings, and then other times you want to choke the sound down a little bit to make it smaller and you can use power chords, even if it's for an open chord that you could play otherwise. Here's an example. By learning open and power chord versions of the same chords, I can create a smaller verse that I can sing over and a much bigger, more explosive chorus part. Moving fast with power chords is great, but sometimes you really just do need that big full sound. So what's great is that there are actually open alternate voicings for some of the most important bar chords. Let's start with F. I already said that you can play just a subset of the notes, and a lot of people play the top 4 strings, but that still requires a bar, and I think it tends to sound a little bit empty. I'll show you what I like to use instead. That might sound weird on its own, but I want you to listen to it in context with the chords that it would usually go near. This is a weird alternate version of an F. Technically, it's called an F major 7 over C, but you don't need to know that at all. All you need to know is that this is going to do the same job as an F chord in most of the circumstances that you would play it. And honestly, if you're playing an acoustic guitar, you should be trying to get in as many open strings as you can anyway, because that's what sounds best. And this voicing is really built for that. If you've never played this specific F chord before, it can feel a little weird, so let me show you how to practice getting to it. First, grab a C chord. This is helpful for 2 reasons. 1, your hand probably already knows this C chord shape, and 2, a lot of times when you go to the F, you're going to be coming from a C chord, so you're already training your brain for what it's going to do. We're going to do this in 2 parts. The first thing is that pinky is going to hover over the D string fret 3, and then all I'm going to do is drop it down. I'm going to put my pinky down on that note, and I'm going to be left now with... That's the first move. The second move is to take your middle finger and drop it from the D string to the same fret on the G string. You've now got your new F chord. You can do each of those motions individually to practice getting to that F chord. Start on the C and put just the pinky on and off. Then go back to C and just move the middle finger up and down. You're teaching each finger individually what it needs to do. When that's comfortable, move both of those fingers together. You should notice as we play through this that your pointer finger and your ring finger never need to move. You're able to build on the fact that your hand already has a comfortability with those fingers. When you're ready to work this beautiful new F chord into context, practice switching between it and some other chords it might get paired with. The most common examples are C to F, F to A minor and back. For that one, make sure that your pointer finger stays still on the B string to make it easier to move. And then the last one you should work on is between F and G. This is the hardest, and if you haven't heard me talk about this before, I recommend using a 2-finger G chord. Middle finger on the low E string, and it's slightly laying down so that you mute the A string, and then pinky on the high E string. It's going to make it a lot easier when you're moving between tricky chords because there's less moving parts. This alternate F chord is my favorite to teach because it sounds beautiful on an acoustic guitar showing off the open string. It sounds a little bit more modern in its voicing, and also it tends to keep notes in the same range as the other notes you're playing around them, which makes it sound more natural and less like a cheater chord. Now, F is the single most important alternate chord voicing to learn, and I'll tell you why later in this video, but another one that can be really helpful is B minor. I will show you another voicing for B minor, but before we even do that, let me get you to rethink it a little bit. B minor is not a bar chord, at least not in the way that you're thinking of. You don't actually need to lay your finger down pushing all 5 of those strings. Your ring, middle, and pinky are playing the notes on the D, G, and B strings, so all your pointer finger actually needs to do is have the tip of the finger play the A string, and something back, usually by your knuckle, on the side of the finger, grab just the high E string. You can be laying down muting all the strings in between. So if you haven't tried that before, and you do try it now, it might make your normal B minor easier than you think. That said, if you want an alternative, here's another one that I do. Start by playing a normal D chord, but instead of using pointer, middle, and ring, use middle, ring, and pinky. Then you can take your spare pointer finger and put it on the A string 2nd fret. You're now playing A string 2, muted D string from laying down over it. Though if the open string rings out, it's not going to sound bad. It's fine. Then the D string 2nd fret, B3, and E2. Technically, this is a B minor 7, but it will work almost always for a B minor. This is extra helpful if the change that you're working on constantly goes between a D and a B minor. It's way easier than moving in and out of a bar. The reason that alternate voicing worked is actually because of our 4th trick, chord substitutes. A chord substitute means playing the wrong chord, which sounds weird, but the thing is, in music, a lot of chords can do the same exact job. So you can choose a different chord that's easier to play that does the same job as the bar chord and usually get good results. I'll show you an example. Let's say that I'm playing Can't Help Falling in Love with You. I used an F chord in the second half of that progression. This time I'm going to use a D minor instead. Listen, it's going to sound different, but it will do the same job. Now, there's a good bit of music theory that goes behind how we can make chord substitutes, and I would be happy to talk about that. Would you write down in the comments if that's a topic that you'd like me to discuss at some point? However, for right now, there's a couple easy things that you can look for. Number 1, chord substitutes usually share some of the same notes. For example, I took an F chord and I played a D minor instead. Both of those contain an F and an A, and because of that, they're going to be able to do a lot of the same job. Other chord substitutes might include C and A minor, D and B minor. There are pretty much endless chord substitutes, but I think the ones that you should care about the most are that most of the time, instead of playing an F chord, you could play a D minor. Same thing when you're playing in the key of G, that would be G, C, D, and E minor. You could play an A minor chord instead of a C chord, though maybe the C is not giving you as much trouble. The other time that a chord substitute really helps is if you're in the key of D, which is usually D, G, A, and B minor. You can often use a D chord instead of a B minor and have it still work. Using chord substitutes can work on your own, but it especially works if you're playing with other people, another guitarist, a pianist, anything like that. I lead a youth group band at my church, and when we play on Wednesday nights, I will always play the biggest, fullest version of a chord. And sometimes if one of the students who's kind of newer to the guitar is going to have trouble with one of the chords, maybe a B minor, I'll have them play a D instead. The higher notes are still basically the same, plus my lower note from the B minor, they make what we would call a composite chord. You don't need to know that, it just means that it's going to sound cool and still do the same job. Hey, by the way, if you want to take some of the tools from today's video and really put them into practice, check down in the description. I have a link to my 7-minute practice guide. It'll help you plan how to get the most out of even a short practice so that you can start getting more done in less time. Now, I said earlier that F is the most important bar chord you need to learn, and really that it's the only bar chord that you need to learn, and I want to tell you why. The truth is you only need to learn to play in 2 different keys. The key of G, which uses the chords G, sometimes A minor, then C, D, and E minor, and the key of C, which uses C, sometimes D minor, F, G, and A minor. Yes, you should learn to play in all the others, but they are second priority. If you can play in the key of G and the key of C, and if you can use a capo, you can play pretty much anything that you need. If you have a song that uses B minor, it's probably because you're in the key of D, but you can actually just put a capo on too and play it in C instead. In fact, look at this, a B minor chord that I'm holding right now is just an A minor chord where my pointer finger is pretending to be a capo. If I actually put a capo on fret 2 and then I play an A minor chord, it's going to sound like a B minor anyway. That's what a capo is doing. It's being a bar, and that's what a bar is doing. It's being a capo. What you should really invest in while you're still learning bar chords is learning proper capo placement. I'm going to put a chart up on screen that can show you where you need to put a capo to play in various different keys. If you don't know what the key of a song is that you're playing, you can just look it up on Google. It'll usually tell you. Or if you're really confused, write down in the comments. Tell me what song you're playing, tell me what chords you're playing, and I'll tell you where I would put a capo and what chords I would change them to. By the way, another use for a capo while you're learning your bar chords is to use it as training wheels. If you have a capo, try this. If not, you can look and I'll show it on screen. If you put a capo anywhere on the guitar and then you look at the strings at the next fret, you'll notice that the strings are lower. They're closer to the fret. It actually brings the strings closer in so that you don't have to push as hard. If you put your capo on fret 2, 3, anywhere, and then try practicing your bar chords, I'm not saying that it's going to make them easy, but it will mean that you don't need to push down quite as hard. Capos are super powerful tools, both for practicing and for being able to just play in different keys. If you don't have one, I have links to some of my favorites down in the description with Amazon affiliate links. It is still worth learning how to play bar chords. They open up a whole new world of possibilities, but it's just a slow process. When you're ready to start tackling that, the next video that I record is going to be all about bar chord technique, and I'm going to post it right here. If you're seeing this video before that one goes live, you might as well practice on some of your left hand technique to make sure that you're being as efficient as possible and not squeezing harder or pushing harder than you need to. You can try that out right here, and I'll see you in the next one.